Okay, good morning, guys. Let, let the others join. So it's 11:02. We will start our session, today's session. Let me just admit all of you. Okay, right now we have 7 people joined. Okay, so today we will continue our unit number 2, design of the shaft. So in that we are, this unit is divided into 2 parts. I hope I am audible to you guys. If I am not, let me just verify that I am audible to you. I hope I'm audible. Okay. So I'll keep, I'll continue whatever I was saying. Okay. So this unit is divided into mainly 2 parts as we talked. First is the design of the shaft and second in the keys and couplings. Right. So we are in the first half of this and almost we are done with the first half. We have left with couple of few things on the first half, that design of the shaft. What we are left is design of the shaft. We have gone through basics of design of the shaft. Then we have we did the ASME design of the shaft. We have gone through a couple of numericals also. So what we are left is now doing the design of the shaft for torsional and lateral rigidity. Now what is torsional and torsional and lateral rigidity? What are those? We'll talk about those today, and then we'll do a something called a design of a hollow shaft. So these two are things which we are pending, and we will try to cover those in the next 2 lectures, and then we will shift our focus on the design of the keys and coupling. So those part will not take much time. Keys will take 1 lecture and coupling maybe couple of lectures, right? So today let's go through now what is design, what is design of a shaft for lateral and torsional rigidity. Okay, so we'll start on that. Let me just share my screen with you. Okay, let me share the share screen. Okay, so now you should be able to see my Word document. These are my notes, which I will be, as usual, I will share those notes with you. So what I was, we will talk about today's design of the shaft for torsional and lateral rigidity, right? Now till now we did on the strength basis, what is bending stress and what is the shear stress, and using the combination of those, we use principal stress theory, either maximum principal stress theory or shear stress theory. So using those, we designed the shaft. Then we complicated it little bit by designing the shaft for the ASME design, right? Now we will do, today we'll see what is torsional rigidity, what is lateral rigidity. Okay, now as the name suggests, torsional rigidity means it's rigid, or it will not fail because of the torsion, right? And lateral rigidity means it will not fail laterally. Okay, so these are the 2 terms, which we will talk about today, and we will see how we will do design of those. Now take a look at this equation. Again, we are looking at the equation, torsion equation, right? So we talked about it. T upon J is equal to tau upon R is equal to G theta upon L. T is empty, basically torque. Again, I am repeating those because we want to keep this equation all the time, ready in our mind. Mt upon J, torque upon J, polar moment of inertia. Now, regular moment of inertia, I is pi by 64 d raised to 4, and J is 2 of I, pi by 32 d raised to 4. Tau is the shear stress, R is the radius of the shaft, G is the modulus of rigidity, L is the length of the shaft, and theta is the angle of the twist. Now, if you take a look at this equation, right? So we use the first 2 parts. T upon J is equal to tau upon R, right? So using this only, we found out the shear stress in the shaft. Shear stress because of the twisting, we found those, using this first 2 part of this equation. Now what we will do, we will use the first and third part, right? Now, if we use the first and third part, we'll see T upon J is equal to G theta by L. So now what it says is we get a relation between twisting moment, polar moment of inertia, modulus of rigidity, angle of twist and length. So now with this we can find out the angle of the twist, means how much twist is allowed, or how much we can allow the shaft to twist. So if we know the twisting moment mt, if we know the bending j, polar moment of inertia, modulus of rigidity and length of the shaft, within we can find out the angle of the twist, how how much it will twist because of that torque or twisting moment, right? So let's try to put these two things together. T upon J is equal to G theta by L. Now try to analyze and with this try to find out how much twist is allowed. And this design is called as the design of the shaft for the torsional rigidity. So we are trying to make it rigid for the torsion. Okay. So let's go to that equation now. Okay. So now if you see this, okay, actually the equation derivation is not here. The equation we have derived somewhere. I remember in the, I think very first or second stage itself we derived it. Okay, this one. So if we use this equation, T upon J is equal to G theta by L, right? So using those equation, we get this angle of twist is theta is equal to T mt, right? T upon J into L upon G, right? So if we put J pi by 32 d raised to 4. Now, if you have pen and paper, you can try to derive this equation. T upon J is equal to G theta by L. From that we get theta is equal to T upon J into L upon G. If we put J pi by 32 d raised to 4, and now this angle whatever we are is that is in radians theta. So we have to convert those into degree. So for that we have to multiply it with pi by 180. So because in general practically we'll get the angle in degrees, right? So to have that conversion we will multiply theta with pi by 180. So if we do that, it will come on the other side, it will be theta is equal to 180 into 32, right, upon pi square multiplied by mtl upon d raised to 4g. Are you getting me? So simply on the first left hand side there will be theta, pi by 180 will go on the opposite side, so it will be 32 into 180 upon pi, and this pi square, right? So if we do the calculation, you will get 584 point something, 32 into 180 upon pi square. Okay, so we get this equation, and we have to keep this equation in mind. That angle of the twist theta in degrees is 584 mtl upon gd raised to 4. Okay, this is called as design in the design of the shaft for the torsional rigidity. Anybody has any doubt? Somebody said something. I don't know. I can hear someone. Maybe it's okay. He kept on the mute. Anybody has any doubt? Kindly put that in a note, or you can raise your hand. Okay. So we did. Well, now we know the torsional rigidity. Theta is 584 mtl upon gd raised to 4. Now we'll try to take an example of this. So let's go to this. Now we have the equation. Let's go to that part. Okay. So when the shaft is we have to we design the shaft. Just hold on 1 minute. I have to take this call. Just let me make it right. हॅलो येस आपलाच कोणीतरी मित्राचा कॉल होता त्याने ॲडमिशन फॉर्म पाठवला आहे सो ही जस्ट वॉन्टेड टू मेक शुअर दॅट आय गॉट द ॲडमिशन फॉर्म बट ही इज नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन अटेंडिंग द लेक्चर anyhow. So now we know that theta is equal to 584 mtl upon g theta, right? So now we'll try to take an example. So when we do the design for the torsional rigidity, generally we get allowable twist, how much we can allow a shaft to twist, right? So it depends on the per meter how much that thing is allowed, like 3 degrees, 2 degrees, 1.5. They will give you that. And hello. Hey, someone is unmute. Let me just mute that guy. I don't know who is that. Let me see who is not mute. All are mute. Okay, somebody, Sandeep Bhosle, raised the hand. Sandeep, any doubt you have?
No, sir.
No doubt, na? Okay. You are not mute, so let me mute you. Okay. So basically, what we are saying that when the torsional rigidity, right, we will be given that the shaft is allowed, so 2 degrees or 3 degrees to twist. So if we know that, then we can do the design of the shaft. Means what? We can find out the diameter. If we theta is equal to 584 mtl upon g d raised to 4, right? So similarly, d raised to 4, if we know mt, to a twisting moment or torque, if we know length, if we know zeta, g and theta, then we can find out the diameter of the shaft. So we can design a shaft for the torsional rigidity. Now let's see, we took this example that day. The example was, this was a shaft, it had a pulley at the end, and it had a gear in between, and then it was supported on the two bearings, right? So we solved this example and we came up with we ended our lecture with the diameter of the shaft, for KB and KT 1 it was 15, and for KB and KT 1.5 it was 13. So in example you will be given KB and KT and you have to come up with the diameter. So this is the diameter we designed, from the strength basis. Now let's do the same design. Now what they have given? They have given that the G is 70,300 Newton per mm square modulus of rigidity. The same problem is there. So that time, so actually, let's see first, the allowable permissible twist is 3 degree per meter length. So per meter, it is allowed to twist 3 degrees. So if it is a 2 meter length shaft, then it is allowed to twist by 6 degrees, or it is half meter, then it is allowed to twist by 1.5 degree. So you have to find out per meter what is the twist allowed, right? And that you should take. Now the distance between the bearing L is given. Distance between the bearing means the length of the shaft is given. L is given, and we have to find out we have to do the design of the shaft. So on the torsional rigidity, now that means we have to use the angle of the twist theta for the design of the shaft. So we have formula theta is equal to 584 mtl upon g d raised to 4, right? Here we know mt, twisting moment, that we have found torque. Where is that? Torque we have found 238 732 Newton mm, right? So we know mt, so that mt is no. L length is given 600 mm. So everything is in, this is in Newton mm, this is in mm. So everything is in Newton and mm. G is 70,300 Newton mm square. So mm square will, those will match. And then we have, okay, Sandeep Bhosle again raised hand. Abhishek Tekode raised. Okay, any doubt you guys have? Let me just
No,
see.
sir.
Sandeep Bhosle, you are okay. Lower hand. Let me just lower it. Okay, no doubt.
No, sir.
Okay. So what I was saying is that now we know MT, twisting moment, we have calculated. You know how we calculated that? Using the power equation. P is equal to 2 pi MT upon 60, right? If we know the power, if we know the RPM, we can find out the torque, MT. So we know MT. They have given the length of the shaft between the bearings, or length of the shaft as 600, and zeta G is given, and theta, right? Theta is theta is 3 degrees per meter, but our length is what? 600. So for 1 meter, 3 degrees is allowed, right? So for our 600 mm, it will be twisting. So with that calculation is done in the first step. So the angle of the twist is for 1 meter length. If the shaft is 1 meter, it is 3 degrees. So for 600 mm, it will be 1.8 degrees. Right? Simple multiplication. So now we know the angle of the twist for the given length is what I can say. It is 1.8 degrees. So we will use that in the formula. D raised to 4 is equal to 584 into mt into length 600 g and theta. From that we will get diameter of the shaft on the basis of the torsional rigidity as 27.67. Right? So basically, this is what, how we will do the design of the shaft on the torsional rigidity. Initially, we saw on the strength basis, allowable bending stress, allowable shear stress, and use the principal stress series. And this is a different kind of design. So we got a diameter 27. You see now in the previous stage, we got a diameter of 15 for KBKT1, and for KBKT 1.5 it was 38. and here we got the 27. So out of those, depending on the situation, we'll take the maximum. So if KB and KT is 1, so diameter for the on the strain basis we got 15.62, and here we got 27. So we will take diameter as 27.67, right? Okay. Now let's see now what is lateral rigidity. So now we know what is torsional rigidity. Similarly, what is torsional rigidity? How much your shaft is allowed to twist, by what degree it is allowed to twist, right? So that is based on the torsional rigidity. Similarly, your shaft is a long material or long element, right? So it will be definitely the long material. It is now in our example it was 600 mm or zero point 0.6 meter. So 0.6 meter is almost 1.5 or say 1.8 what you can say, feet, right? So that length shaft, it might go under bending, right? So it will it will have some kind of deflection at the center. Now when we are going to design a shaft for that deflection, or use the this bending equation and see the how much deflection of the shaft is there, and if we know that maximum allowed deflection is this much, because some the more the deflection, it will have more kind of vibrations and it will fail because of the fatigue, right? So to avoid that, we will say, like in the previous stage or in the design of for the torsional rigidity, we said allowable twisting. Here we say allowable deflection, right? How much your shaft is allowed to deflect, because if we allow more than that deflection, my shaft will fail. So we will say the maximum allowed deflection, that we denote by symbol delta, right? And that is, we say, the design of the shaft for the lateral rigidity. Now it is lateral means it is we are designing it laterally, not for the twisting, right? So we have gone through. Now see, just try to have a revise what we did. We did for the normal design of the shaft on the basis of the strength. Then we did use the principal stress theory, principal shear stress theory, right? Then we did the SME design. Then we did the design for the torsional rigidity, and now we are doing the design for the lateral rigidity, right? Now lateral means what? The design for the deflection. If it is a very long shaft, then we will say the deflection allowed is this, and for that we will do the design. Now delta is generally 0.001 to 0.003 L, right? So it is 0.1% or 0.3% of the length. So whatever length we have, so now is like we had a length of 600 mm, right? So multiplied 600 per 0.001, we will get 0.6 mm. So the example we have taken in the previous lecture, for this the shaft length was 600 mm. So delta will be 0.6 mm. That means that shaft is allowed to deflect by 0.6 mm, or if it says 0.003, it is allowed to deflect by 1.8 mm. So the deflection, if we consider the shaft horizontally, the deflection in the shaft is allowed at 0.33 of the length. So now this deflection, if we do the design for this deflection, then it is called as lateral design for the lateral rigidity. So there are many methods, acoustic grinding method, then graphical integration method, area moment method. There are different methods for the design of the shaft, for the lateral rigidity. Now I will just give you some formulas. You have to just keep those formulas in mind and use depending on the situation, or use those for the. Now see, first take an example of simply supported. Now we'll take an example of simply supported, right? Then we'll take an example of simply supported with the uniform load, and we will take an example of actually these are the examples we will see, and we'll see how it will be with the load at the center and load somewhere around the center. So let's first see for the simply supported beam, right? Or simply supported beam. Now in this case it is shaft, so it is also taking a load and also it is rotating. So it is a simply supported shaft. It will have a load at the center, right? So we can say if the we have to find a bending moment at any point. So if the P is the load, right, at the center, then at the two ends the support will be, or the reaction will be P by 2, right? So at A and B, reaction will be P by 2, P by 2. So if we take the moment of at any point, it will be P by 2 multiplied by X, that distance, right? So, and at C, right, at the center, it will be P by 4 into L, right? So for that, the deflection at any point X will be given by this equation. Now this is, by using different methods where they have come up with this equation, right? So delta at any X, any point on the beam is 0.424 px divided by e d raised to 4 into 4x square minus 3l square. Now here P is the load, right, at the center. X is the distance where you want to find the deflection, right? Is Young's modulus, d raised to 4, d is the diameter of the shaft, x again distance, and L is the length of the shaft. If we know these things, we can find the deflection, right? And the maximum of this deflection will be when x is at L by 2, right? Half distance. So if we put x is equal to L by 2, we'll get the maximum deflection 0.424 PL cube upon ED raised to 4. So this is the maximum deflection. So if we have given that your shaft is allowed to deflect, maximum by say 0.1 or zero point 0.5 or 1 mm, then you will use this and we can find out the diameter. Again, if we have given that allowable maximum deflection of the shaft is zero point 0.1 or 1 or whatever, then we know the delta max is at the same, so we can put the delta max, right? We know the load on the shaft, that is the load, we will calculate weight of the shaft and different kinds of load on the shaft, like we did in the previous example. We know the length of the shaft and we know the Young's modulus, so we can find out the diameter of the shaft. That means we can design the shaft for the deflection. So similarly, if the load is not at the center, it is somewhere, then this delta will be at this is the equation for that, whatever equation I have shown. Let me just enlarge that. That equation will be used for the deflection of the shaft, and for simply supported beam, right? But with the uniform load is not at the center; it is uniformly distributed. The bending moment will be maximum at the center, WL square up by 8, and that delta maximum deflection is given by 0.265 WL raised to 4 upon ED raised to 4. So we'll use this equation if it is a simply supported beam with a uniform load. So load is uniformly distributed, right, on the shaft. Then that in that case, if we know the allowable deflection, we can design the shaft using this equation. So this is how we will do the design for the lateral rigidity. Now we have seen two important things today: design of the shaft for the torsional rigidity and design for the lateral rigidity. Now what are those? Torsional rigidity means we will say that the shaft is to be it is allowed to be twisted by this much degree, and for that degree we will find out the allowable diameter, that is design of the shaft for the torsional rigidity. And we will say the shaft is it is allowed to deflect by this much of the length. So delta is equal to something, a factor into length. So that is the allowable deflection, and we'll use, depending on the different situation, we'll use different formulas for the finding out the deflection of the shaft, and that we will use as maximum deflection, and we can find out the diameter. So these are the two important things we learned today: design of the shaft on the torsional rigidity and lateral rigidity. Okay, so now we have completed the variety of designs of the shaft, right? So we did we completed or we have gone through the design of the shaft for the on the strain basis using maximum principal stress or maximum shear stress theory, principal shear stress theory. Then we have gone through ASME design. Then we have gone through design for the torsional and lateral rigidity. Okay. Now we will see the actually I would like to take a numerical, all right, on this. Actually, we have taken a numerical. I have the video for that. An example we took for the strain basis design. That time the last part was the design for the torsional rigidity. So we will I will show you that example to you, right? But now we'll just go through one basic concepts of for the design of the hollow shaft. I want to complete that, so that in the next lecture we will, if possible, we'll take two examples, or if at least one example for the hollow shaft, because it is asked in exam how to design the hollow shaft. So we'll try to go through the basic concept of the design of the hollow shaft on the strain basis. Now this is the plain design, whatever design we did in the first stage. Same design will do, but this will be for hollow shaft. Now what is hollow shaft? We'll try to understand that, and for that hollow shaft, how to do the design. It is not very complicated. Only thing, there is few factors will be introduced, and how those factors are in the incorporated in the equation. We'll see that. Okay, so Okay, before we proceed, anybody has any doubt on whatever we have learned till now? Anybody has any doubt? You can ask me. No doubt? Okay. I don't know if people are there or not. Anybody is there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How
Yes,
many
sir.
people are okay? Just in the chat, just say yes, sir. Let me see how many people are.
Yes, sir.
In the chat, why don't you guys in the chat just say yes, sir? I want to see how many guys are there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, put it so that I will know. Okay, let me see. Okay, almost all of you have put. So you guys are listening. So I'm really happy about it. Now sometimes what happens, I thought you guys simply join and you guys leave. So one new message. So that's good. AC, please, if you have any kind of doubt, put that in the chat, or you can raise your hand. I will ask you. I will allow you to talk, and that way we can if any kind of doubt we can clarify that. So if you have if you don't have any doubt, then we will simply proceed with the design of the hollows. This is the last part of the first, as I said, last thing of the first part for the design of the shaft. After this, we will shift our focus on design of the keys and couplings. But for the shaft, this is the last part of the design, and in the next lecture, we will take a numerical on that, probably on the hollow shaft design. So, see, the equation is still the same. MT upon G is equal to tau upon R. So first two parts we use for the strain basis, right? So we know that for the design of the shaft for the strain basis, we use the first two parts. MT upon G of the torsion equation. MT upon G is equal to tau upon R. Now, if we see this equation, see I have this equation. I think my screen is shared with you. So in this equation, if you see that the shear stress, the shear stress is equal to torque into R upon J. So J is fixed for a shaft. So once the diameter is fixed, J is fixed is pi by 32 d raised to 4. Torque is fixed. If the power is fixed, then torque is fixed on the shaft. So how the stress is distributed. If you take a look at this equation, T is equal to mt upon J into R, or sigma B, bending stress, is equal to mb upon I into Y. Both these from this equation we can see that mt and J and mb and I are fixed, right? So your shear stress or your bending moment are directly proportional to distance from the center or the neutral axis. The center of the shaft is neutral axis. That's where the stress is minimum, and the more you go away from the from the center, the stress will go up, and at the extreme fiber the stress will be maximum. It may be shear stress or bending stress. Both stresses are maximum at the extreme fiber, or we can say at the end of the shaft, or the extreme edge of the shaft, right? Which we can see that outermost part of the shaft, that is where the stress is maximum. So from that, what we can do now, what we can think is that if the stress is minimum at the center and maximum at the extreme fiber, then we can take out some material from the center and put it outside. Okay, I will just repeat. Now stress is minimum at the center, at the neutral axis, right? There is no stress at the center, and it goes up and it is maximum at the what you can say, maximum at the extreme fiber. So if I take out the center, if I take out the half part of the shaft and put it outside, so I will have, see why I'm doing that. So our basic main thing of a target is to reduce the weight. But if know that with the same weight, I can have a larger diameter shaft. That means that shaft can take more stress. Okay, I will repeat my sentence. Now, I say my shaft has to be of 1 kilogram, right? It should not exceed 1 kilogram. So for the same weight, I can have two shafts, one solid shaft and one hollow shaft. But I will take the center part, I will put it outside. The hollow shaft will have more diameter, right? So if the two shafts are having same weight, but one is solid and one is hollow, then the hollow shaft will have more diameter, outside diameter. That means what? It can take more stress as per this equation because R is more. Are you getting it? So the advantages of hollow shaft are that for the same weight, hollow shaft can take more stress, or it is allowable stress is more, or it can take more load, right, or more torque. How? Because tau is equal to mt upon J into R. That means it is proportional to R. The more the R, it can take more the stress. And weight is same, but hollow shaft, center part is taken and put it outside. So for the same weight, hollow shaft is better for the stress, right? So that's why we know hollow shaft are designed. So we'll see now how to design a hollow shaft. What are the advantages now? For the same weight, stiffness is more, right? Right? Then for the same weight, strength is more. Now we have just seen stiffness and strength, both things are more, and the natural frequency of hollow shaft is higher. That means it will not fail because of the vibration at lower frequency. It will fail at a higher frequency. But the problem with the hollow shaft is that because hollow shaft is, we have to do extra work of creating a hollowness in the shaft. That means it is more costly, right? And the diameter hollow shaft is more, so that means it will need more space. So these are the two disadvantages of the hollow shaft. So hollow shaft is preferable from the strength perspective. So for the same weight, hollow shaft will have more strength because it will have more outside diameter. But the disadvantage is that it is costlier to manufacture and it will take more space, right? So you got the concept of what is hollow shaft, why a hollow shaft is preferred, or why it is used. Because for the same weight, because the stresses at the center are zero, we can take out those part and put it outside to increase the strength of the shaft. Are you getting my point? So if you take a look at the diagram B, the strength at the near the center is low, very low. So take out those part and put it outside. So your shaft will become hollow, but your diameter will go up, and because of that, the strength will be more. Okay. Now let's see how to design the hollow shaft. Now hollow shaft design is exactly procedure is still the same. Only thing is that instead of solid shaft, we have a hollow shaft. So our some formulas will change. Now let's assume that di upon do is C. Okay, T is the ratio of inside to outside diameter of the shaft. Di is inside diameter of hollow shaft. Do is outside diameter. That ratio is di do is C. So if outside diameter is 2 and inside diameter is what you can say, this thing inside diameter is 1 and outside diameter is 2, this factor will be 0.5, right? So inside diameter is 1 and outside diameter is 4, it will become 0.25, right? So if di and do ratio is C, then we'll try to just, now we'll try to, we'll derive the same formula, but with this ratio now. Now, see now the normal tensile stress is P upon area, right? P is the load, area will be what? Pi by 4 do square minus di square, right? The area of the cross section of the shaft is what? Outside diameter minus inside diameter, right? And the area, if we have to find out the area for the outside diameter and minus area for the inside diameter, that will be the your sigma t. Now, if we put di as di is equal to CDO, right? From this equation, inside diameter is equal to CDO. So if we put that, we will get simple equation of sigma t as 4p upon pi d square. This is the equation, right? 4p upon pi d square, normal equation. Here we will get factor of 4p upon pi do square into 1 minus c square. So this 1 minus c square will be the factor of the hollow shaft. Now c is greater than 1. So this factor will always be less than 1. And it is just because it is in the denominator. So your sigma t will be more. Right? For the same outside diameter, sigma t is more for the hollow shaft because, your this C is greater than 1 and this factor will be less than. So this something, whatever in the bracket will be less than 1. So sigma t is more, right? So similarly, let's try to find out sigma b. Sigma b is mb upon I into y, right? I is pi by 64 do raised to 4 minus di raised to 4, right? This is the amount of inertia for the hollow shaft, right? So let's put that DIO is equal to CDO. So we'll get pi by 64 do raised to 4 1 minus c raised to 4. Y is d by 2 do by 2 outside diameter by 2. Maximum stress, where the maximum stress is there, outside diameter by 2. If we put all this together, we'll get sigma b is equal to 32 mb upon pi do cube into 1 minus c raised to 4. So the equation is still the same, only we have got one extra factor. What was the previous equation? Sigma b is equal to 32 mb upon pi d raised to 4 d raised to cube, right? here we'll get sigma b is equal to 32 mb upon pi do cube into 1 minus e raised to 4, right? So this we got the bending moment. Let's find out twisting moment. Twisting moment tau is equal to mt upon j into r, right? So r is again do by 2. Maximum stress will be where the outside diameter is there, right? So it is do by 2. J is pi by 32 do raised to 4 into 1 minus c square. So like here pi by 32 d raised to 4 do raised to 4 minus di raised to 4. So you put that in this equation, di is equal to cdo. So we'll get j is pi by equal to pi by 32 do raised to 4 into 1 minus c raised to 4, right? So we put that in the equation, we'll get 16 mt upon pi do cube into 1 minus c raised to 4. So equation is same. We got factor of 1 minus c raised to 4, right? So we got the normal stress, bending stress, and shear stress for the inner twisting. Now we'll try to put those in our principal stress equation. So if we put those equation in sigma 1, maximum principal stress theory, put those sigma b is equal to 16 mb upon pi do cube minus 1 minus c raised to 4, and sigma tau shear stress is sigma 16 mt upon pi do cube minus 1 minus c raised to 4. We'll get this equation. The allowable or the principal stress sigma 1 is equal to 16 upon pi do cube minus 1 c raised to 4, and the second term will remain same, mb plus root of mb square plus mt square, right? For my principal maximum shear stress, the same equation, only the first part will not be there. So maximum shear stress, allowable shear stress 16 upon pi do cube minus into 1 minus c raised to 4 root of mb square plus mt square. So the design will be the same. Only thing, we have a new factor of 1 minus c raised to 4 in the denominator, right? So if we put that factor, we can do the design for the hollow shaft, right? So tau max is, or the maximum shear stress theory, tau max allowable shear stress is 16 upon pi d cube or pi do cube into 1 minus c raised to 4 into root of mb square minus mt square. So this is how we will do the design of a shaft for what you can say for hollow shaft, right? So we'll take a see. I have given an example here. You can take a look at it, right? And let me just zoom it. And then in the next lecture, I will take a proper example of a hollow shaft. Okay. Here they have given a torque and all those things are given. Allowable shear stress is given, and they have found the diameter. Now I will take an example of a hollow shaft in the next lecture. In the next week. Maybe I think today is Tuesday. So on Friday I will take an example of hollow shaft. But see, in this example they have given a power 45 kilowatt. So if we know the power and RPM, so we can see 60 into 10 raised to 6 into 45 upon 2 pi, and RPM is 500. So they have found out the twisting moment mt. Now if we know mt, and if we know they have given the diameter ratio, right? The hollow shaft having inside diameter 0.6 of the outside. So di upon do is given as 0.6, right? Here C, di upon do is C is 0.6. So if we know C and the maximum allowable permissible shear directly given, no use of factor of safety and all that. They have given tau, allowable tau. So if we know tau 84, so put that tau is equal to 84 mt, we calculated in the first stage, right? 815 and 436, and we know C, so we can find out the diameter DO, right? Once we know DO, multiply that by 0.6, we get DI. So this is how we will do. It is basically same procedure. Only thing is that we have one extra factor.